All right, this is another episode of CYA, Cover Your Ass as a Trucker Carrier. Are you reading these contracts when you get set up with a broker? I mean, when they go into these emails where you just go ahead and click on the link and you get all the information you need to proceed with all your information, and you keep going through all the steps. I'm going to show you what I just found in this broker's contract, which I was going to take one of their loads, but you have to read these contracts. And this one is one of the big ones you got to watch out for. Indemnification. Indemnification, I'm going to read you their clause here and why you don't want to sign a contract with this. And I'll give you examples in a minute. So, Part 12 of their contract, indemnification. Carrier will indemnify, defend, and hold harmless broker, its affiliates, and its customers as intended third-party beneficiaries from any and all losses as defined below, arising out of or in connection with carriage tendered to carrier, including the loading, unloading, handling. Let's highlight this so you can read it maybe. Transportation, possession, custody, use, or maintenance of cargo or equipment or performance of this contract. Misconduct of broker, its affiliates, or customers. It is the intent of the parties that this provision will be construed to provide indemnification to broker, its affiliates, and customers to the maximum extent permitted by law. If this provision is found in any way to be overbroad, it's the party's intent that this provision be enforced to allow indemnification to the maximum extent possible. That means you're not going to sue anybody for what is following in these next sentences. Losses, meaning any and all losses, liabilities, obligations, personal injury. You worried about personal injury? You care about it? Bodily injury, property damage, loss or theft of property, damages, penalties, fines, actions, causes of action, claims, suits, demands, costs, and expenses of any nature whatsoever, including reasonable attorneys and paralegals' fees and other costs of defense, investigation and settlement, costs of containment, cleanup and remediation of spills, releases, or other environmental contamination, and costs of enforcement of indemnity obligations. Basically, what that's saying is you can't hold anybody, the broker, its affiliates, or its customers, or anyone loading, unloading your truck. If they hit you, if they hit your equipment, you cannot sue them or go after them for money. You indemnify them. All right? So, you want to leave your butt open out on the ice with no socks and no underwear, go ahead and sign these contracts. But I'm telling you right now, there's no reason brokers should have contracts like this to set up carriers for a big problem, legally, otherwise. You get hurt, big forklift bangs into your truck, knocks you off, you're hurt, you got no recourse when you sign these contracts with this clause. You got to read these contracts, and especially read this in anything to do with indemnification. And sometimes there'll be more than one part that addresses indemnification, which you'll have to read the whole contract, because later on they might add some more of that, of the clause, into another section, maybe unrelated to this. So you got to watch it. So what you really want to do is, what should be the thing that us carriers and truckers should do, is have a clause that we can insert into the contract, which I offered this broker, but they said no, they wouldn't replace it with mine. What mine does, which I got from my transportation attorney, it indemnifies the broker, and actually everybody indemnifies everybody else for anything they do to someone or something. Let me read it to you because I got it here. It's a very good, I don't know if I should share it because I had, this is from an attorney. But basically what it does, you're indemnified from anything I do, and I'm indemnified from anything, or you're indemnified. How does that go? I'm going to indemnify you and your customers from anything that I do, whether negligent or omission or commission, and vice versa. So we don't want to leave ourselves open. And really, what bothers me about this is we are two different businesses, but the brokers are oftentimes weighing heavily in favor of their contract in their favor. So why don't they respect us as another business? They don't. They don't care. I even told this broker, I said, hey, do you realize what this does? It leaves me open to any kind of damage or injury without any recourse. Yeah, we've had other people say the same thing. We've had these complaints. Okay, well, why don't you change the contract? Yeah, we've talked to the owners, but they don't want to change it. Why? What is their big beef about? I can understand protecting yourself. What's the big beef about us being protected? You don't care about us? This is supposed to be two businesses doing business together. What are you telling me? You're the only one that gets to put anything in the contract? You're the one that gets to say, well, you're going to waive all these rights, but we're not waiving any of our rights. That's also other clauses in the contracts that you got to look at. When they say carrier waives the right to this, carrier waives the right to that. Why? What rights are you waiving? I don't see that in the contract. Now, just because a broker is TIA certified or $250,000 bond or 5 stars, gold diamonds, whatever, each rating from Truck Stop, DAT, or whatever, they get all these ratings for brokers. Well, if the contract leaves everything in the favor of the broker and all the responsibilities are on the trucker, and you leave the trucker vulnerable to lawsuits. Oh, there we go. Let's try to do that. So you leave the trucker vulnerable. Why? Why are you doing that? And as these things get hammered out with all these independent, I shouldn't say independent, these illegals being taken out of the trucking industry, you're going to also see a big capacity crunch coming up. And we should be in the driver's seat for things like this contract deal. We should be able to negotiate much better contracts. Also, if you want to get a good transportation attorney to help you out on things like this, that would be in your interest to do that. Also, I'm gonna throw a thing out there. I don't get any money for this at all, but if you want to look up Henry Seaton, Seaton, he's a transportation attorney. I've learned a lot. He's written actually a couple of books on broker carrier contracts. You might want to check that out and get a copy of it. You can get them online or contact them directly, buy it from them directly. You learn a lot about how to protect yourself in contracts. Hope you make money, man, but you got to remember. Oh, I'm going to tell you a story. I forgot to tell you a story about this. So there's a story that I heard directly from somebody connected with it, that there was a flatbed trucker loading at Nucor Steel down in South Carolina. Well, this big forklift backed right into that flatbed full force, totally destroying this guy's flatbed. And he contacted this attorney, transportation attorney. He said, well, let me see the contract you signed. And he said, well, there's nothing I could do for you. You signed your rights away. Your indemnification clause states that they are not responsible. Basically, you indemnified them from anything they do. That's why I don't like the wording in here. Anything connected with or associated with in any way of you hauling this, No, 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 no. You got to be responsible for what you do. I'm not indemnifying people for something they're going to do wrong. All right, that's about it for now.